In the suffocating confines of a windowless break room, where the air hangs heavy and secrets fester like unspoken grudges, one fateful microwave beep ignited a war that would bind two souls in an unbreakable chain of vengeance. What began as a simple act of thoughtlessness spiraled into a shadowy obsession, where every email, every call, every unexpected visitor chipped away at sanity, until revenge became a lifeline and escape an illusion. Dare you uncover the depths of this petty inferno? The office was a cramped hive, just 14 of us buzzing through our days in a space that felt more like a forgotten storage room than a workplace. Tucked away in the back was our so-called break room, a tiny, airless box with no windows to let in light or let out the sins committed within. The microwave sat there like a ticking bomb, its vent system as reliable as a politician's promise, broken since the days when hope still flickered in the White House. We all knew the rules, unspoken but sacred. No strong smells, no lingering odors that could poison the air we shared. But rules, as I learned, are only as strong as the people who follow them. It was March 2021. A gray afternoon that blended into the monotony of remote work edging back into in-person drudgery. I was at my desk, buried in spreadsheets, when the first hint of disaster wafted through the vents. At first, it was subtle, a faint, briny whisper that made my nose twitch. But then it hit full force, an assault on the senses that clawed its way into every corner. Salmon. Leftover salmon. Drowned in some creamy sauce that amplified its fishy essence to weapon-grade levels. I traced it to the break room, where Linda stood, oblivious, punching buttons on the microwave like she was inputting a launch code. 4 minutes. She set it for 4 goddamn minutes. I watched from the doorway, my heart pounding with a mix of disbelief and rising fury. The appliance hummed to life, and with each passing second, the smell intensified, seeping out like a toxic fog. Linda hummed a tune, stirring her coffee as if she weren't unleashing hell upon us all. By the time the timer dinged, the air was thick, choking, a miasma that clung to clothes, hair, and souls. I retreated to my desk, but it followed me, insidious and unrelenting. For 3 agonizing days, the office reeked. Clients visited, their noses wrinkling as they asked, half joking, half horrified, if something had died in the walls. My jacket, hanging innocently on my chair, absorbed it like a sponge. I wore it home that night, and the stench invaded my car, my apartment, a constant reminder of the violation. Worse still, my turkey sandwich in the fridge, my simple lunch, prepared with care, had betrayed me. 1 bite, and it tasted like the sea's revenge, fishy and foul. I tossed it in the trash, my stomach turning, my anger simmering into something darker. I couldn't let it slide. That evening, after a tense team meeting where no one dared mention the elephant, or rather, the salmon, in the room, I emailed HR. Please address the issue of strong-smelling foods in the microwave, I wrote, keeping it professional, though inside I seethed. The response came swift. A company-wide email reminding everyone to be mindful of aromatic choices for the sake of our shared space. And then, Linda's reply all, sorry if anyone was bothered. A smiley face. That goddamn smiley face, beaming like she hadn't just waged chemical warfare on our nostrils. That night, alone in my apartment, the rage boiled over. I paced the floor, the fishy residue still faint on my skin despite 2 showers. How could she be so cavalier? The smiley face mocked me, a digital grin that said she didn't care, that our discomfort was a joke. I needed to strike back, to make her feel a fraction of the intrusion. My fingers flew across the keyboard, searching for something petty, something persistent. And there it was, the Church of Scientology's mailing list. A simple form, her work email slotted in. Submit. Done. A rush of adrenaline hit me, guilty, thrilling, like crossing a line I could never uncross. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a petty balm for my wounded pride. But oh, how wrong I was. The next day, I watched her from across the room. Linda frowned at her screen, muttering about weird emails from Scientologists. She broadcast it to the office, seeking sympathy. I don't know how they got my info. I nodded along, feigning concern, while inside, a spark ignited. Her annoyance was intoxicating, a validation that my arrow had hit its mark. That night, I did it again. A different form, a new sign-up. The seed of revenge took root, twisting into something I couldn't uproot. Weeks turned to months, and my Sunday nights became a ritual. Curled up with my phone, I'd scour the web for fresh Scientology sites, Dianetics pages, local church forums, anything with an email field. Sometimes I'd add her work phone number, upping the ante. The first physical mail arrived at the office a few months in, a glossy brochure promising enlightenment. Linda waved it around, bewildered, as if it were a puzzle she couldn't solve. I buried my face in my work, suppressing a grin that threatened to give me away. Then came the call. I was eating lunch at my desk, a safe, scentless salad, when her phone rang. She answered, and I eavesdropped shamelessly. No, I'm not interested. I don't know how you got this number. Please remove me. It dragged on for 20 minutes, her voice rising in frustration. I watched. Fork paused mid-air, a wicked satisfaction blooming in my chest. She hung up, red-faced, complaining to anyone who would listen. IT got involved, multiple times. These people keep finding me, she'd say, and they'd scratch their heads, unable to trace the source. Little did they know, the culprit was right there, blending into the background. The escalation was slow, almost imperceptible at first. Like the way a single drop of water can wear down stone over years. Every Sunday evening became my private ceremony. The apartment lights dimmed, my laptop screen the only glow in the room. I'd pour a glass of something strong, settle into the chair, and begin the hunt. New websites appeared like clockwork. A free personality test portal here. A Dianetics introductory seminar sign up there. Even obscure regional church pages buried deep in search results. Each one required only an email address and a click. Linda's details were already memorized, typed with mechanical precision. Sometimes I'd pause, fingers hovering, a flicker of doubt creeping in. Was this still about the fish? Or had I become the monster in my own story? But then I'd remember her smiley face in that email reply, all caps, "Sorry if anyone was bothered," followed by that infuriating little emoticon, and the hesitation vanished. Submit. Another seed planted, another thread in the web tightening around her. The physical mail was the first real proof that my actions had legs. One Tuesday morning, the office mail cart rattled past, and the receptionist dropped a thick, glossy envelope on Linda's desk. She tore it open absent-mindedly, then froze. "What the hell is this?" she muttered, holding up a colorful pamphlet titled "The Way to Happiness." Her face flushed crimson as she flipped through pages promising spiritual freedom and self-improvement. Coworkers gathered, half curious, half amused. "They think I'm in crisis or something?" She laughed nervously, but her eyes darted around, searching for answers no one could give. I kept my head down, pretending to type, while inside my pulse hammered with dark delight. The brochures kept coming, monthly at first, then more frequently. Each one landed like a quiet accusation, a reminder that someone, somewhere, believed she needed saving. Then the phone calls started. The first one caught her during a team huddle. Her desk phone rang shrilly, and she answered on speaker by mistake. A calm, overly friendly voice filled the room. "Hello, Linda. This is Brother Elias from the Church of Scientology. We received your interest in our free stress test and—" She slammed the receiver down so fast it clattered. Silence blanketed the office. Someone coughed. Linda's face burned scarlet. She stammered an apology and fled to the bathroom. When she returned, her makeup was smudged, her composure cracked. "I don't understand," she whispered to no one in particular. "I never signed up for any of this." I watched it all unfold from my cubicle, a spectator to my own slow-burning masterpiece. The satisfaction was intoxicating, sharper than any apology could have been. But with every victory came a shadow, paranoia. What if she connected the dots? What if IT finally traced the IP addresses, the patterns? I started using VPNs, incognito modes, different browsers. Small precautions that made me feel both clever and slightly unhinged. The peak came on a humid Thursday in late 2023. I had signed her up for a free on-site stress test through a particularly aggressive local chapter. I almost regretted it the moment I hit submit. Almost. 2 days later, a man in a crisp polo shirt emblazoned with the Scientology logo appeared at reception. "I'm here to see Linda regarding her scheduled stress test," he announced cheerfully. The entire office went still. Linda, who had been walking back from the printer, stopped dead. Her eyes widened in horror as the man spotted her and waved. "Linda, great to finally meet you in person." She backed away like he was contagious. I didn't schedule anything. There's been a mistake." Her voice cracked. The receptionist tried to intervene, but the man was persistent, polite, relentless, pulling out a clipboard, reciting her email and phone number like credentials. Linda's hands trembled as she explained, again and again, that she had no interest, no connection, no idea how this kept happening. The man eventually left, promising to look into the mix-up, but not before handing her another brochure, just in case. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and laughed until tears streamed down my face. Silent, shaking laughter that bordered on hysteria. It was perfect. Too perfect. The revenge had taken on a life of its own, feeding on her confusion, growing stronger with every unanswered question. Linda stopped microwaving anything with a scent after that first incident. She switched to cold lunches, salads in Tupperware, even brought a small electric kettle for tea, so she wouldn't risk the communal microwave again. Victory, in a way. But the war never ended. It simply changed shape. Now, nearly 4 years later, the ritual continues. Sunday nights still find me at my desk, scrolling through bookmarks I've collected like trophies. 47 different Scientology-related forms, each one a loaded gun. I tell myself it's about justice, about teaching a lesson that HR's limp email never could. But deep down, in the quiet moments when the screen glows and my finger hovers over submit, I know the truth. It's not about the fish anymore. It's about the commitment. The knowledge that as long as Linda sits across the office, breathing the same stale air, I'll be there in the shadows, typing her name into another form. She'll keep receiving the calls, the mail, the occasional bewildered visitor. She'll keep wondering who hates her enough to do this. And I'll keep watching. Silent, satisfied, trapped in the same endless loop I've built around us both. When I'm gone, when my fingers can no longer type, my ghost will take over. Floating through the ether, signing her up for e-meter sessions, auditing courses, whatever new nonsense they invent. Because some debts don't expire, some smells linger forever. And in this tiny, windowless office where it all began, 2 people remain bound by an invisible chain, one who committed the original sin, and one who refused to let it be forgotten. The office clock ticks louder these days, or maybe it's just my heartbeat syncing to the rhythm of anticipation. Every glance toward Linda's desk feels charged now, like I'm watching a fuse burn down, slow and inevitable. She hasn't changed much outwardly. Same neat bob haircut, Same polite nods in meetings, same careful avoidance of the microwave. But there's a tightness around her eyes, a subtle flinch when her email notification chimes. She jumps at the sound now. I notice because I look for it. Last month brought the closest call yet. It was a quiet Wednesday, rain drumming against the single frosted window in the hallway. I had just finished my weekly ritual the night before, found a new Scientology volunteer minister outreach form buried on some auxiliary site, submitted her name, email, and for the first time in months, her home address instead of the office one. A small escalation, a test. I told myself it was harmless, that they'd never actually show up at a residence. Famous last thoughts. Around 2 p.m., Linda's desk phone rang again. She answered warily, the way someone answers a call from an unknown number at midnight. I pretended to read an email while straining to hear. Yes, this is Linda. Wait, what? At my house? No, I didn't request any visit. Please, don't come. I'm not interested. There's been a terrible mistake. Her voice cracked on the last word. She hung up, stared at the receiver like it had bitten her, then looked around the room with wide, searching eyes. For one terrifying second, our gazes locked. My stomach dropped. Did she know? Had something in my expression betrayed me? The ghost of a smile I couldn't quite suppress? She looked away first, rubbed her temples, muttered something about this nightmare never ending. Then she stood, grabbed her purse, and walked out without a word. No one asked where she was going. We all knew the pattern by now. Another Scientology ambush. Another round of explanations to strangers who refused to believe she wasn't secretly seeking salvation. She didn't come back that day. The next morning she returned, quieter than usual, dark circles under her eyes. She told the group chat she'd had a rough night and left it at that. I overheard her on a call to IT later, voice low, almost pleading. They have my home address now. How is this still happening? Can't you block the domain or something? The IT guy sighed audibly through the speaker. We've tried everything, Linda. Firewalls, spam filters, reporting the senders. They just keep coming from new places. It's like whack-a-mole. I felt a pang then, not quite guilt, but something adjacent. A cold whisper asking how far I was willing to push this. The answer came quickly. All the way. Because stopping now would mean admitting it was wrong, admitting the fish smell had faded years ago, while the wound I'd inflicted kept reopening. Admitting I'd become addicted to her quiet suffering. So the Sundays roll on. I bookmark new forms obsessively. I've got variations now, different spellings of her name, just in case, slight tweaks to the address line, even a burner variation of her work email I set up years ago for redundancy. Each submission is a tiny ritual of control in a life that otherwise feels small and beige. The office keeps shrinking around us. The 14 of us feel more like inmates sharing a cell. Linda brings noise-canceling headphones now, plays soft music during calls she doesn't want overheard. She eats at her desk, never lingers in the break room. The microwave sits unused most days, gathering dust like an old battlefield relic. Sometimes I catch myself wondering what would happen if she ever found out. Would she scream? Cry? Confront me in front of everyone? Or would she just go quiet the way she does now and plot her own slow revenge? The thought sends a shiver through me, not entirely unpleasant. It would break the monotony. It would give the game new stakes. But she hasn't found out. Not yet. And I won't stop. Not when the next brochure arrives tomorrow, or the next call comes next week, or the next earnest volunteer shows up at reception asking for Linda, our interested seeker. I'll watch from my corner, silent as always, feeding the machine I've built. Because this isn't revenge anymore, it's preservation. A twisted proof that something, anything, matters enough to keep doing forever. That in this airless, fish-scented purgatory of fluorescent lights and recycled air, two people can remain locked together by nothing more than spite and persistence. When the lights go out for good, when the office empties and the microwave finally dies, my ghost will still be here, hovering over the keyboard, entering her email one last time, submitting, waiting for the next ping. And somewhere, Linda will still flinch at the sound. We're both trapped. Forever.